Not with perfection, but with the decision.
The decision to show up, work harder, and believe this place can change everything.
At Northeast, you're more than just a number.
We're built on opportunity, and our students are willing to rise to the occasion.
Here, success isn't handed to you. It's earned.
You don't just leave with a degree, you leave as a legend.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 5. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpalm. Hopefully you're enjoying this fantastic Monday. A little bit of a cool start out there to begin the day. And we're going to have, I think, a few more of these cool starts ahead. I mean, looking specifically at this morning, and look at some of these low temperatures down there in the 30s in some spots like Water Valley, Oxford, Bruce, Houston, all down to 39 degrees for this morning, 38 in Boonville and back out toward Iuka and Red Bay. Not quite as chilly for tomorrow morning versus where we were for low temperatures this morning, but another cool night ahead. And we'll break down just how cold city by city here in a couple of moments. Burn concerns are going to continue looking forward as burn bans do continue, but we have an elevated fire danger for tomorrow. An actual fire weather area that we're focusing on. We'll show you that to you coming up here in a couple of minutes. And storms are going to return as we head toward the weekend. Rain chances that begin this weekend extend into next week. The pattern shifting more active. Does it go all the way to severe? That remains a bit of the question, at least initially here, and anytime we could say that's a question this time of year, that's a good sign. But we do expect we'll have storm chances by then. 76, though, this evening at 6 p.m. We're 62 by 9. 55 is looked toward around midnight. Low 50s by 3 o'clock in the morning. Yes, we're back in the 40s for early tomorrow, but not as chilly as we were for the beginning point of today. As we look outside this afternoon in Cleveland, we've rebounded a lot. I mean, come on, we're at 77, but that measure of moisture there coming in at 36 for that dew point. That's that dry air. Any clouds? All high, all thin, all made up of ice crystals way up in the sky as opposed to closer here to the surface. More clear showing up there in Houston at this time. A lot more blue on that camera. One of our newest cameras added in by the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. We're so excited to have you on display here down there in Chickasaw County, exclusive here to Mississippi Live Weather. Beautiful shot, and appreciate the North Mississippi Storm Chasers, our partners with this entire camera network. Phoenix Building Solutions, Mississippi Department of Transportation cameras there showing up again, blue skies, everybody moving smoothly there in Oxford, and that temperature is 75 degrees at this instant as well. Mama Justice Doppler radar, we are looking clear on any of those latest scans all across North Mississippi. Just bugs, about the only thing we're detecting at this point here, though there have been a couple of smoke plumes from time to time today, none that we're looking at this specific moment, as high pressure sits pretty much right overhead. When we have one of these H's, sinking air, clear skies, it's the reason we were chilly to begin today and likely will be fairly cool again for tonight. But as that does eventually slide out toward the east, that will eventually start a trend towards somewhat warmer conditions. See, on the backside of this, we get what we call return flow, that moisture, that warmer air moving right out of the Gulf of Mexico and more deeply into our area. But it's going to take a few more days before that becomes somewhat more substantial. Much wider shot here shows kind of the players this week. Big storm system back along the west coast. This is at least in part going to be what brings us some storm chances by this upcoming weekend. That tells you how slow this is moving, as it's going to take all that time to kind of dig in and move our direction here. And it's really this system, this frontal system we have deeper into Canada that really is probably the biggest question, because while I think we'll have some upper level support that'll slide in, and I think we'll have some fuel that will move in associated with that high pressure and the return flow. So those components are there. Does this front end up stalling out before it ever even makes it here to Mississippi? You know, the reason I asked that question is because of this. Placed in the place yesterday was a severe weather risk that did include parts of North Mississippi. That risk for now on your Saturday remains back to no official risk at this point on Saturday. But we look toward Friday, back out into Arkansas and into Texas and Oklahoma. This risk was over top of us yesterday. The Storm Prediction Center, Norman, Oklahoma, is back this way because of that slow progression of that next front. And that could be something that I think we'll still have some rain chances with this system, maybe even Friday. But into the weekend, it could take a little longer for this to slide in. There will be severe weather chances with this system eventually. The question is how quickly that sets up. On Friday, hopefully, we're still a little out of phase. But again, looking kind of long distance there for a moment. So Futurecast here, 10 p.m. this evening. Again, we show plenty of showers back into Texas, but we are dry with the sinking air with this high pressure center. Our winds starting to come out of the Gulf of Mexico, but not really picking up a whole lot of steam initially here, as we only have a few really primarily high and thin clouds sliding in as that H settles back out there into Alabama. Few showers down closer to, say, Vicksburg, not Vicksburg, down to Natchez and Alexandria, more so than up here in the northern part of the state. So over the next 24 hours, tomorrow's another dry day. Humidity remains low. We're going to start a little milder. That's why we're at upper 40s and making our way to 60 by 9 a.m., 76 by noontime, lower 80s as we head toward afternoon. And it will again be mostly clear skies. But we're gradually adding a little more moisture, little bit by little bit, as we look through that extended forecast. And that'll start to bring some of those rain and eventually storm chances back. Here in 60 seconds in the Room to Room Weather Center, we're going to be looking ahead at how that dry air component is impacting fire weather conditions and looking toward those next rain chances and when they could arrive, how far away they are for now. And Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center in 60 seconds.
Imagine your child with no place to sleep. For many children, that is their reality tonight. When you buy a mattress at Room to Room, we give one to a child in need through Beds for Kids. Buy a bed, give a bed, change a life.
After a storm, the damage is not always obvious. And if it's not documented correctly, it can cost you. With a decade of experience, we know exactly what to look for. We handle the inspection, claim support, and the roof. Storm season is coming. Make sure you have absolute restoration on your side.
We can see the lowering. We're going to have a good shot at that as it approaches the Rienzi area. Tornado warning now issued. We'll do a push alert behind the scenes for folks here up here in Alcorn County. Rotation on this thunderstorm increasing to the point back into Tippah County as well, where the National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning for locations.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
Welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather at 5. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lobhon on this absolutely gorgeous Monday, showing a little smoke plume there at the horizon, right about there out of our Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling camera. This looking back toward the west, so that'd be looking back kind of west-northwest of, probably more west of Tupelo than anything else. Long distance away, but certainly a function of the drier conditions that we've had. Temperatures have made their way into the mid-70s this afternoon, coming in 76 degrees in Grenada, 74 right now in Greenwood, 77 in Cleveland. Normal this time of year, we're fairly close to that, actually, believe it or not. But I think we're going to be building back into the 80s the next couple of days. Dew points remain low. This is that dry air. 28 is really dry. We're not to true chapstick territory on how dry we are, but certainly this is one of those functions that figures in on that somewhat elevated chance for severe weather chances. That's why, not severe weather chances, for burning. And so that's the reason burn bans remain in effect for many locations here, including Lee County, where we're looking at that smoke plume a moment ago there, from Lafayette, Marshall, Benton County. Montgomery County has been dropped from the burn ban. We'll see if one ends up being reissued. You know, we look back over the fire threat, and for tomorrow, an elevated fire threat for locations back out in the Delta in particular. A combination of still fairly dry conditions, increasing winds, warmer temperatures. That does lead to those elevated fire concerns. And fire concerns are elevated a lot of their spots as well. This would be the most significant locations we're talking about. And I know it might seem, well, hold on, we got some rainfall. And we did. Looking back over the past 3 days, we have a few stripes in here, green, where we do show, rainfall amounts up there somewhere in that half-inch to 2-inch territory. So some of us did get it, but a lot of us, it was maybe a 1/4 inch or a trace or lesser amounts. We need a lot more than that. We average that basically per week this time of year. And so we need to do a lot better than this. Futurecast showing us only really a few thin clear clouds, or thin high clouds out there as we stay mostly clear into this evening all across the region. Again, we have that high pressure kind of sliding away from us, and so gradually that allow more moisture start coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, but all those showers still back to our south and east for tomorrow. So south and west for tomorrow. Apparently my directions are, we'll get them figured out in a second here. Lower 50s there in South Haven, for Cleveland, for Greenwood and Belzona, all coming in around 52, 53 degrees or so. 49 Tupelo, Amory, and Houston. It's 47 degrees there in Bruce, and 49 for Starkville and for the Columbus area. School bus forecast provided by IMPC. We're 50 degrees at pickup, 81 by drop-off. That is a big difference there. You'll need the jacket if the kids are outside for any extended period of time in the morning, but by afternoon, warmer than today, so less necessary than maybe today. But still a bit of a chill in the morning, if not quite as cold as it was for this morning. So these remain those high, thin, what we call cirrus clouds made up of primarily ice crystals as they gradually move over top of us through your Tuesday. Those winds start picking up out of the south, and again, that's where we have again, that elevated fire danger. And yeah, we do pick out a couple little bits of little blips of green there. Before we get too excited about the moisture, you can see those are very far removed from any more meaningful moisture, meaning these are likely still falling into pretty dry air. So we might get what we call virga. And that's one of the things that actually could be more concerning on fire danger, because that sometimes kicks out stronger wind gusts. As rain evaporates, that evaporation process causes the air to cool and head toward the ground, and thus you end up getting some gusty winds that can happen from time to time as well. So that, believe it or not, could potentially enhance a little bit of fire danger there. Notice that beyond tomorrow, those low temperatures do get more manageable, from 43 this morning to 49 tomorrow morning, and then we're into the 50s and 60s. And once we get into the 60s here, it's one of those signs now we have the moisture back, could eventually start yielding some rain and storm chances. We expect that, I think, by the weekend to be where things kind of settle in. But we're still ahead of that tomorrow. And temperatures to around 83 degrees we show in Amory, 82 for Tupelo, for Starkville, for Columbus for high temperatures on your Tuesday, 82 Grenada. Our normal this time of year, 76, so very much in line with where we were for high temperatures today. So looking at that state tennis championship forecast, because yes, high school tennis is in championship form. I played tennis in high school. I've not played a lot of tennis the last few years. I was never state championship good. I enjoy playing tennis good. But for those folks, they're in Oxford for day 2 of those championships. Again, in the morning, 55 or 75 degrees by noon and 79 by the final match that occurs for the afternoon, or might even go a little later than that. But at least in the afternoon, we're looking at about upper 70s there. Similar temperatures there down in Vicksburg. Again, the division split between Oxford and Vicksburg. 55 at the very beginning of the day, 77 by noontime, and upper 70s as we head toward tomorrow afternoon. So certainly some beautiful weather, I think, in both cases as far as tennis is concerned. Not going to connect those dots with any rain we have out there, though we do have some better chances for some showers down there closer to Vicksburg by tomorrow evening. So for one reason or another, they run that late, could have some issues. But notice how these remain all pretty light, spreading there from Jackson to Greenville, back up towards Starkville as we look toward early Wednesday morning. So this represents kind of the first of our rain chances. When you start looking at this, though, these are really light. This is about as light as our scale goes. And a lot of times when we see the kind of widespread light stuff like this, if we are as dry as we were today, and that continues through tomorrow, what usually happens is a lot of this evaporates. So this looks like, hey, a lot of us are going to see rainfall on Wednesday to begin the day. This is maybe sprinkles. Outside of back here toward Greenwood and Chula and Hollandale and back toward Greenville, this actually could be somewhat more substantial for you. So low temperatures for early Wednesday, milder. That's a sign of that moisture increasing. The 60 there for Greenwood, Cleveland, 61, 62 for Greenville. Coming in 55 degrees in Water Valley, Bruce, 56 in Houston, and 57 for Starkville, 54 degrees in Tupelo. So those showers remain, again, fairly light as we progress into your Wednesday. Again, not having a whole lot of meaningful darker greens showing up on those southerly winds, though. That's bringing in more moisture. And you see here, as we changed models from our HRRR to our Strike model, how it has a lot less. That's because Strike is picking up the meaningful rainfall, whereas the HRRR was picking up primarily the lighter stuff that's largely evaporating as it comes down closer to the surface. So you can see more meaningful rainfall chances still remain very spotty, but possible as we head toward Wednesday afternoon. Wednesday's highs, upper 70s we show for Tunica, for South Haven and Senatobia, about 78, 80 degrees in Greenwood and Grenada there. So while temperatures might go down a degree or so for Wednesday, that would be due to the fact we could have a few sprinkles out there for highs by then. So as we progress throughout your Wednesday evening, Wednesday night, again, not much moisture and really no big obvious changes around the region, right? Gulf of Mexico still wide open. You can see those clouds coming there, and that starts again priming the atmosphere for later on this week. Storm chances, they're going to pick up more in the plains as we head through Thursday and into Friday. You can see some of those already showing up out there for Thursday. We're still ahead of that by Thursday, say midday, but more and more of this little bits of green starting to get up there into the Delta, back out into Arkansas, Louisiana, and that again is starting to set the stage for more available fuel that eventually will help these rain chances as we go into the weekend. Let's go ahead. I didn't have it in my rundown here, so give me just a second to pop it in. Let's go ahead and get you Friday's Futurecast here, looking at our strike model as well. In fact, let's just go beyond that. Let's go all the way. So as we look toward Friday here, again, there's where, late Thursday evening, all the storms are more isolated in nature, but severe thunderstorms back out there into the plains as this first kind of wave kind of kicks off more active weather. But notice as we slide up here northward toward Kansas, this is that front we were looking at that was way, way up there into Canada. Now into Kansas and Missouri, but watch what happens with this thing. It stalls out, stops moving our way. Storms kind of exit that boundary, head farther east, make their way into the Mid-South potentially, and possibly even down here closer to Mississippi. Let's bring it in a little closer here. We're noontime Friday. We're 2, 3, 4 o'clock on Friday, 6 p.m. Not much activity. You'll also notice we changed to a slightly lower resolution version of the strike model at that point. Most of the active weather we think are still back here closer to where that frontal boundary would be, back out toward Arkansas and locations to the north and east. So looking at strike early Saturday here, some storms up to the north, better chances for rainfall to start going by Saturday afternoon, but still pretty spotty in nature based on this projection. We'll have to look at Euro coming up at 6 p.m. and its extended projection on that as well. But you can definitely see kind of a front trying to nudge in. There's a boundary up here. Maybe you can kind of pick it out in these lines we call isobars there. There's a little boundary up here that we could still argue for. The main storm system back out on the plains. And by Sunday, chances for rain and storms becoming more likely and continuing to have at least some of those chances as we look toward Monday of next week. Start running out of data on even that. So, again, we're going about a week out on our fairly high resolution models there. So let's look at that 7-day forecast. Again, most of what we have the next couple of days, that Wednesday, Thursday chance we're looking at, maybe sprinkles, not expecting to see really much, if anything there. As we head toward Friday, we're looking 82 degrees for that high. Again, spotty showers with the severe weather threat primarily to the west of us. Chances for storms increasing Saturday into Sunday and even the Monday of next week. Now, we're not impressed by the severe weather chances we're seeing on any of those days at this point, mainly because the upper level systems related to this are more focused back on the plains. In saying that, the fact that we have active, storm chances 3-4 days in a row there in late April, it wouldn't all be shocking for everything to shift a little bit farther to the east. If that happened, obviously that would then enhance some of our storm chance a bit more. And that's, again, something not just myself, but our meteorologist Maggie McCall will be watching tomorrow morning on Mississippi Live Weather this morning. You can check her out 6:37, 7:30 a.m. for any updates there. Not going to be tracking many sprinkles for tomorrow. Slightly better chances of that by Wednesday. But Maggie will get you up to date on anything you need to know, getting you out the door. She does a spectacular job, just like Gabe does in the evenings. Check, of course, both of them out here on Mississippi Live Weather. And we appreciate all of you for your support there. Our next live broadcast is going to be coming up here at, as you can see, 6 p.m. At 6 p.m., we'll be looking at that extended storm finder. We're going to look at a couple different versions of that. We have the primary version we show you, which is based on our strike model, but we have another version with some newly minted European model data. And what that means to you is European is the gold standard for long-range models in the entire, Earth. The system that they use, the way in which the model behaves, it's just the best. We're going to take a look at Storm Finder. We've adapted a version of that from the European. We'll show that to you coming up at 6 p.m. as we look toward those storm chances for this upcoming weekend. We hope you'll join us for Mississippi Live Weather, and appreciate all of you for joining us here in the Room to Room Weather Center.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.